Fiverr, and thanks for joining me on today's episode of Sugar Candy Miniatures. Today, I'm going to talk about one of the things that I don't feel very confident doing in this hobby. I see a lot of people are able to do it easily, and it's something I want to improve on. So, this month, I'm declaring my own personal Kitbash in July, and I'm going to be trying to make every video and most of the projects that I'm working on this month kitbashes so I can get better at doing it. Now, I've started a Soulblight Gravelord's army, and the kind of army refresh is looking really, really good. I like most of the models, but there are a couple that I think would be fun to run, either just because they have fun names or because the mechanics seem like they'd be strategic in the game. I'm by no means an Age of Sigmar strategist, but I do my best. So there's this really, really old model called a corpse cart, and looking at the model on the Games Workshop website, it didn't really fill me with a lot of inspiration. Kind of has a bunch of like sad dead peasants pulling a card of their fallen brethren, which if you're into that, great, but I wasn't around for Warhammer Fantasy, so I don't have the same exact nostalgia for some of the old models with like weird faces. What I do have nostalgia for is games I've played and TV shows that I've watched. And when I was thinking on the phrase corpse cart, I was thinking of Necromancers, which led me to thinking about my absolute favorite animated show. It is fairly recent, but I've been watching it for the past 4 or so years. I think it only came out recently. It's called Dao Zu Shi, which roughly translates to either the founder of Diabloism or Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, depending on who you ask. It's a Chinese animated show about a group of exorcists. There's like all these different clans, and they fight monsters and have inner political dramas, kind of like a Avatar: The Last Airbender meets Game of Thrones sort of tone. And the main character is this guy called Wei Wu Zhan, who's really cool. He can raise the dead with a Chinese bamboo flute, which I thought was so cool. My fiance ended up getting me one a couple Christmases back, and I was learning to play before, the plague times hit, and I had to stop going to see my flute teacher. But I should really do that again. I'm not good, but I can play that little whistle stop song from Robin Hood, and it makes my life complete. Anyway, he is able to raise the dead with his flute, and I thought, well, I like that, so let's do something with a necromancer. When the new Warsong Revenant model came out, I mean, the resemblance was pretty clear. I couldn't resist. There's also a video game that I positively adore called Bloodborne. I'm sure some of you have heard of it, but they had a big board game launch, and I happened to spend some of my stimulus checks on the entire line, which I've still yet to paint. So we're gonna steal the Reborn one from that because he was a total jerk to me, and I died so many times trying to fight this thing, and now I'm gonna have my revenge by using him in Age of Sigmar and watching him die over and over again, and that's valid. So with this kit bash, I do apologize for some of the footage not being clear or missing. I recently got a new phone and I had to transfer the footage from my old phone because I don't have a proper camera. So if there are clips missing, I'm just going to try and summarize what I did. I started by just pulling out all of the various kits that I had and seeing how the parts would fit together. I knew I had to get rid of the tree feet for the Revenant. I wanted something that looked more vampiric, so I took the feet from the Crimson Court model, the lady vampire in there. I don't really like her 80s hair, so I was never going to build and paint her, so I cut her up for pieces and wedged her feet in underneath the cloak. And then I also cut off the end of the trumpet so it would look more like a flute. I then attached the Warsong Revenant to the Reborn 1 model by just kind of gluing the tip of his cloak to the One Reborn's hand, which is kind of raised, so it was easy to get that pose looking good. After that, I decided we needed to sort of integrate some battle damage in here and make the One Reborn look like he could belong in the world of Age of Sigmar as opposed to the world of Bloodborne. So I put a lance through him and I started sticking spears and other bits from various Warhammer kits into him. I had a lot of extras from building the Death Rattle skeletons for my Soulblight army, which were the absolute worst to assemble. If you're thinking of getting Death Rattle skeletons and you hate assembly as much as I do, you might want to think twice on those. They're like 7 different pieces, but they came with lots of extra spears, so it was really easy to get them stuck in. And then once I sort of had all of that battle damage together, he was looking pretty good. I didn't feel like there was too much left to do. I tried to fill some of the gaps with green stuff, and that was an exercise in futility. Some of that just wasn't going to happen. But once I had the model looking about the way that I wanted, it was time to do the base. I had this nice mud texture paint from Citadel, so I smeared that all over the base. I'm sure you could use whatever kind of mud texture or basing paste that you have lying around. I added a couple little rocks and things like that to it, which was the goal of it was just to hide the rim of the One Reborn's base, because he comes on like a sort of plastic oval, and cutting him off of that would have been beyond my skill. So I just sort of smeared all the mud into a little elevated hill for him to stand on to camouflage that pretty decent. Then once I was finished with that, he was done. I was ready to get him primed. My first kitbash was complete. I'm super pleased with how this has turned out. I intend to get it painted up soon, but this month's focus is really just going to be different kitbashing projects as opposed to finished painted models. I have a pretty exciting collaboration coming up that I can't wait to give you more details about, so stay tuned for that. I also just want to give a shout out to Chris S., who asked if I had a Patreon in the comments of my last video. I'm not quite ready for that yet, I don't think. I'd prefer to have better video equipment and cameras and stuff like that. But I did set up a Ko-fi account. If you want to buy me a coffee, there will be a link in the description. Thanks for your donation, Chris. It really meant a lot to me. I'm really glad that you guys have been in these videos. They've gotten way more popular than I expected to, and each and every view comment means a lot to me. It's really fulfilling to know that there are people out there who don't mind if you do the hobby a little bit differently as long as you're having fun. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you have a good kit bash in July. If you make anything, please let me know. I'd love to see it. More coming soon. Thanks, guys.